Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You're all very, very welcome. You're always very welcome, but after a Liverpool away win, you're very, very welcome. And my God, we have finally a league away win to talk about. Oh man, what a day, what a night, what a 24 hours for me. We're going to get into it all. First and foremost, people, smash a like as you go in. As Goonavet says, our resident Gooner fan, amazing. Pixelate Pigeon says, horrible second up, a huge thing. Snow Salah arrives. Okay, I get it. Absolutely. LFC Network says massive 3 points today, lads. Never ever write off Mohamed Salah. Smash the likes as you go in. I agree with everything he says there. Salah has 44 goals and 14 assists against the top six. I think we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? In terms of the big match stats and the big match players. Oh boy, where do we start? Well, we're going to get into it, guys. We're going to get into it all. But first and foremost, I've put a banner out, and I've put a banner out for our channel sponsors, futcard.com. All your banners, all your needs in terms of banners, FUT cards, and prints. These are the people to go to. These are the ones, man. Check them out. I'm getting a Darwin Nunez one, man. This guy's a madman. I love him. And today he finally started acknowledging his chant. He came over away to the away section and he finally realized we're singing his song. I don't think he understood first what we were saying. So I'm getting a Nunez print, probably that one made. I'm probably hoping to get a discount as well because I'm going to type in RedFellas because that's how it works. Guys, flags, banners, FUT cards, all shapes, all sizes, custom-made flags, custom-made banners. These are some of the testimonies customers are saying. Brilliant service, brilliant people, channel sponsors. Go check them out. Ask them anything you want, any complication or any print you want, any special design you want. You type in RedFellas when you get to the counter. What's it called? Counter. What's it called? Am I tired, people? Help me out if I'm saying the wrong thing. Check out. Thanks, Kev. Fuck's sake. Steve and Conroy haven't helped me out in years, and look at you. We're already helping me out.
I said check out.
Did you? I didn't hear you.
Yeah.
I didn't hear you.
But you went after school.
When I said counter, fuck, what did I say counter for? When you get type in RedFellas, you get 15% discount. Helps them, helps us. Everyone's a winner, baby. Make sure you're futcard.com. All right, the lads. It's been a while. It's been an absolute while since we talked about a Liverpool away win. Fantastic. How does it feel, Conroy?
No, it's great result. I think we're going to break it down, Grizz, but I think it's an excellent result. I do think it was a must win. I saw your build up, which on the channel, Grizz, which was brilliant as usual. But I think today was a must win. I said a couple of weeks ago, Tottenham were poor against Newcastle. I think, and then we had the quality to beat them, even though we've not been playing great. I think you saw that again today. They gave you the opportunities, and thankfully we took them today. So towards the end, I know we're going to, talk about how it felt like, we just got over the line. But it's a massive, massive result. And I'll be perfectly honest, before the World Cup coming up, guys, it's just about results for me. I couldn't care about performances because you're going to have a massive break anyway. So just about the results for me overall. And I'm very, very happy with tonight. I thought it was a must win, and we got the job done.
Yeah, I share those sentiments. Must win, had to win. Didn't really care about the performance, all of that. Steve, was you of the same opinion going into this game? Or was you willing to give them a bit more leeway in terms of, let's just put in a performance and see how it goes from there? What was your mindset at the start?
Totally agree with you two boys. 3 points was massive. It was a must. We can't keep giving leads and opportunities to teams to get away from us in the league table. That's a top four rival. That's almost a 6-pointer today against them. You lose that, you go, 13 points behind them?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So no chance on earth you can afford to lose that game, because 13 points means that needs to be 5 games where there's a significant difference between us and them. And that's not easy in the Premier League at the moment. So we spoke a little bit before we came on air. There's a couple of things there that were a bit hard to watch, a bit difficult, a bit nervy towards the end. But the 3 points is in the bag. I think still got a game in hand on them. So we could, if I'm right, could get to within 4 points of them with the game in hand, and we take everything we can get at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Cav, I know we've been speaking during the week about it as well in terms of just get over the line, limp over the line if you have to before the World Cup. Just make sure every objective is reached, and 3 points was the objective tonight.
Yeah, definitely. Like of course, we all want to see good performances, but at this stage, with how the season's gone, it's about getting results and just keeping ourselves in with the chance. You know, that we can get away to the World Cup, come back, and still have that opportunity to get into the top four. Losing today might have really damaged them hopes, you know, of trying to get into that top four. So you're dead right in saying it was a 6-pointer. Crazy to say at this stage of the season, but it definitely was. Never going to be an easy game. We did the preview. We thought it was always going to be tight, always going to be a bit nervy. And I'm not sure about you guys, but my heart was in my mouth towards the end. For a large portion of that game. And it's not for the faint-hearted. This is it. Yeah, but we got over the line, and that is the main thing.
It's not for the faint-hearted, and for that very reason, I woke up this morning. Well, I decided last night that I'm going to get out the war hat. No more fucking.
Was that after your nap, Grizz? That was after your nap. You were up for most of the night watching the cricket.
No, so this is the story. I told Cav, please have a Red Bull before the show or something to give you energy, because I'm out of it, mate. I'm only doing it for the love of the subscribers and the love of you lot, and we love chatting after. Like Sunday night, we actually look forward to this chat on Sunday night. It's actually a brilliant feeling. And like last night, so there's a Cricket World Cup going on, and Pakistan, my other love in cricket, are giving me Liverpool vibes this season, where we couldn't win a game. We couldn't string a victory together. We've lost to some crazy teams, and we found ourselves struggling, relying on someone else. So we're relying on the Netherlands, the Dutch cricket team, who by all accounts are rising up the ranks, but the Dutch don't play cricket, right? I'm not sure how much you guys know about cricket, but even you guys may work that out, right? The Dutch don't play too much cricket. They had to beat one of the leading nations, South Africa, who are top cricketing nations, right? The Dutch had to beat South Africa, which is, whoa, how's that going to happen? And then Pakistan had to win all their remaining games since their last defeat. We'd done that. The Dutch turned over South Africa in the early hours of the morning. That was at 1 o'clock in the morning, guys. So I thought, okay, this could be a long night. Wow, the Dutch have just turned over South Africa. Therefore, the double header was the Pakistan game. So I stayed awake for the Pakistan game, which started at 4 a.m. So 1 a.m. to 3 a.m., 4 a.m., I'm watching Netherlands versus South Africa in Australia in a T20 Cricket World Cup, knowing that I've got to travel to Spurs. So everyone's looking at me like, you need some sleep, old man. You're not as young as you used to be, right? I'm thinking, nah, mate, I'm doing all-nighter here. Then I watch Pakistan beat Bangladesh, which was quite a riveting, tense game. I'm thinking, wow, how the hell have Pakistan turned this around? This is one of those Liverpool-type stories. I've got to get a couple of hours nap, because now I'm going to Tottenham Stadium, and watch Spurs and Liverpool. Not only that, what did we have before Liverpool and Spurs, lads? We had Man United get tonked by Aston Villa. Good fucking evening, right? I'm thinking this is good evening after good evening. So then Chelsea, I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. What am I talking about? This shows you where I am, chronological order. So 7, 8 a.m., I tried to get a couple of hours. I'm not sleeping because adrenaline is pumping. Pakistan have reached the semi-finals out of fucking nowhere. Chelsea, Arsenal, I'm thinking, Arsenal, yeah, they're looking good. We can get close to Chelsea. Chelsea gets smashed by Arsenal. Man United gets smashed by Villa. And I'm thinking, here we go, Liverpool. Only Liverpool can ruin or make my weekend one of the best in ages. So that's my story, people. I went to the game, and the atmosphere in the away end is always the fucking best. Away days are the best. Last season, I was in the Spurs section because it's the only way I could have got a ticket. And it was horrible. 2-2. They battered us. We got a result. Right? We got a result somehow. We had a Tyler Morton in midfield and James Milner and Naby Keita. like 3 guys that probably won't play for us, you know, more than 10 times in the future. And today was totally brilliant. Lineup comes out, Conroy, as we always discuss, and a couple of us always shit it. I was the first one who shat it today. I admit it before Steve calls me out. I was one of the first ones who shat it. And the reason why I shat it was I saw a team that's been picked by Klopp, and I'm going to give him the credit afterwards, but I just thought, I saw the size of Tottenham Hotspur, and I thought the only way they're going to beat us or look to pressurize us is crosses into the box and set pieces, because they're fucking huge. When I saw Elliott and Bobby Firmino, I was expecting Curtis Jones and Henderson to start. That was my only dilemma.
Yeah, no, I agree, Grizz. I don't actually usually comment on in the WhatsApp group as we all do. I usually just wait for the game. But today, I think I said I was worried with it, not the diamond shape, but that, the 4-1-2-1-2. I know there's adaptation during the game, but with that, when it first came out, that's what it looked like. I know that's not exactly what happened, but I was worried just in general that with the midfield we had, it was going to get quite congested with Spurs midfield, because they're playing basically the 3-5-2, and then basically you knew they were going to play counter attack, so 2 stacks in that. So I thought we would struggle to break them down, and I did say I felt like hopefully the front threes put out with Nunez, Bobby, and Salah, that's going to drag their back three around enough to create chances for us, which did happen. But I was a bit like yourself. It's like I understood why I went with that. I was just worried that it might have lacked creativity at parts, or maybe not done enough to break them down. But ultimately, it worked. So, yeah, overall, I was intrigued. I think we said that. I think you said that in the chat, Chris. What was it? Ohm said, what it's it's an exciting lineup. And you were like, I don't care about excitement. I want efficiency. But
I said
overall,
I want efficiency. Yeah. Absolutely. I said I don't give a shit about excitement today. I just want efficiency. And Steve, Klopp, Steve, that's making an awful noise. Oh, you're killing our eardrums today with that noise you're making with those microphones. I wanted Klopp. We've been asking for Klopp to be brave and show us the old Klopp. I thought his selection in hindsight, and the reason why he's one of the best coaches in the world, I thought his selection was very brave, going with Elliott, Nunez, Salah, and Bobby. I thought the selection of Elliott was a masterstroke again. We may get onto it now, or if you want to speak about the sort of the performance of little Elliott, because he was playing against giants. But again, just as I said, I haven't seen the game on TV. You guys tell me otherwise. But I thought his choice of pass, his touch, his spatial awareness was fantastic.
Yeah, I wasn't worried about the team when it came out, because I think that Fabinho, Thiago, and Elliott is probably the strongest three in the middle, if you don't include Bobby in the setup. And like you say with Elliott, we've seen it all season, haven't we? Where he takes up clever positions and he gets on the ball on the half turn, and he puts probing passes in. He looks sharp. He always looks forward, and he's improved his covering space as well in terms of defensive. He's never going to win you a blockbuster 50-50 challenge or go and beat Højbjerg in the air. But when we don't have the ball, he takes up some really interesting defensive positions, which it's hard to do, to mark space, but he's learning that, and it's nice to see. But the real thing with Harvey, what you get from him, is he wants the ball all of the time. He'll take the ball under pressure. He'll take the ball waist high, bring it down, look forward, get people involved. From week to week, we go from he's 19, he shouldn't be in the side every week, we shouldn't be relying on him. And then we go to, actually, he's brilliant the following week. And then we go back to when we don't play so well. Why are we relying on a 19-year-old? Well, we've gone away to Spurs today, and he's absolutely stood up and been measured against men. And that was Bissouma and Højbjerg are aggressive footballers. Bentancur as well. That's a decent 3-5-2 combination from Tottenham that was designed to drown our midfield and overrunners, and it didn't work to a large degree. So I think Elliott takes a lot of credit again today. I think if you're good enough, you're old enough. I just love the way he wants the ball all the time. And, the only other player in the side that will take a ball whenever you need to give it to him is Thiago. So to be talking about them two doing that in the same breath, I think massive kudos to Elliott. He turned up again today, and I don't see the conversation saying we shouldn't be relying on a 19-year-old. He's good enough to play there. So when he's selected, let's see what he gives us.
I love that example you've given. He's the only one apart from Thiago is willing to ask for the ball, apart from our forwards who are always confident. But in terms of the profile of midfielders we've got, for a young man to be brave, that is so good. I mean, you can see the impact Thiago has had on him in terms of training and having the confidence, like believe in yourself, because a couple of times they tried to physically just throw him off the ball. Like that's the only way they were trying to get the ball off him. Just a couple of shout outs. Jasvin, welcome, my friend. He's become a latest member of the channel. Big up yourself every time, my friend. My main man, my partner in crime, Sasito. We done it, bro. Spurs away, job done. Oh, mate, he knows we went through the mill in that second half. I'm telling you, we went through. He must have. Him and another friend of ours, Jeff. We hit. Basically, they missed both of our goals because he went one trip to the toilet and we scored, and then the second goal, Jeff went to the toilet and we scored, and they were waiting for me to go to the toilet. And that's why we didn't.
Yeah, just keep sending them.
No, but they were asking me to go to get the third goal. I didn't go to the toilet. I never do. So that's what happened. We'll address this question at the end. Will the World Cup being is condensed into around about a month? Do you think the short break will solve some of the issues? We'll address that at the end, my friend. Cav, yeah. Was you all right with the lineup? I think the lineup was fine. It was brave. Spurs, we knew the situation with Spurs. Done the preview, and we knew that they're going to have no attackers. They're just going to make it difficult for us. I personally thought it was a cowardly approach from Conte, but I can't give a shit. I'm only interested in Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool's response to that, rebuttal to that. And his response and rebuttal to that was picking the most technical midfield he could possibly pick right now, and the three forwards that he's got right now, and our attacking fullback that we were always talking about will be able to switch that. And we will get on to Trent's performance overall, but his switches of play and the rest of the Klopp's tactics in that first looked like they were working.
Yeah, and like, look, the lineup, I think, well, let's start off with the formation. Seems like we've done a full circle, starting out with 4-3-3, going to 4 up top, and then coming back to 4-3-3 over the course of these few months starting to the season. But when you and I,
what a segue!
Okay, I'm good at those apparently. So go ahead. But I think you and I spoke, Grizz, and we were talking about going back to the 4-3-3, and suddenly we just looked more comfortable again. I think we spoke about how going to the 4 attackers was justified because we had so many midfielders out and we needed to change things up to change our fortunes. But we've gone back to 4-3-3, and you know, suddenly players know what their role is again. Surprise, surprise. They know where they need to be. They know what the system is. They can work on the patterns of play that you used to have. So I was really happy that they'd gone back to that formation again today. And then it was about personnel. And I think, you know, a lot of the players that started the game kind of picked themselves. The question mark, as you guys have spoken on, was either Elliott or Henderson. I personally thought he was going to go Henderson, be it's Spurs away, and it's a big fixture. And as great as Elliott's been, and some people say he's probably been one of our best midfielders, if not players this season, the games where he's kind of flattered to deceive, and it's not a criticism at all, because I think he's fantastic. I just think sometimes in the big games, he gets a little bit overawed. We'll come on to him a bit later on. I don't think he was. And then the other decision was, do you go with Nunez up top or Firmino or both, you know? And I thought that maybe he would rest Firmino because he's played so much recently and start with Nunez, because I also think Nunez has played his way into this starting 11 every week now. But he went with both, and I was perfectly fine with it. You know, the rest of the team picked themselves. You could maybe have a conversation at right back, but I thought this team needed creativity in it. And Trent was the right pick for me again. So yeah, formation and personnel was not a particular shock to me, and I was fine with it.
Conroy, it made sense, didn't it? In terms of, we knew Spurs are missing a couple of frontline attackers and even a couple of squad attackers in terms of Richarlison. So we knew he's going to play and wait for set pieces, corners, and our mistakes. It was imperative, Conroy, It was imperative we didn't hand out any sweets in that first opening 20, 15 minutes. I made a video of the lads warming up and I done a bit of commentary like, lads, warm the fuck up. Like, don't start cold, right? Make sure you start hot and warm, you know what I mean? No presents. And we started off really well, didn't we, Conroy?
Yeah, no, I thought we looked good. I think you saw quite early, I'd say from the first minute, there was space on both flanks because they were playing the 3-5-2. But slightly different to a 3-4-3 because they're doing the 3-5-2. They weren't really, it wasn't a 5, to be fair. They were trying to use their wing backs like Royale, especially on that side. But Robertson, I think, early just Trent did as well, but Robertson from the first minute as well, he saw that Darwin, I think Spurs weren't sure how we were going to set up, if it was going to be a 4-1-2-1-2 or a 4-3-3 like Darwin actually, not out in the wing, but quite wide. And I think they spotted that very quickly, that there was lots of space down there. And I think within the first 5 minutes, there was 2 balls over the top. Darwin has the volley, the first that's saved well, and he gets in a few times. And his decision-making can be quite frustrating, but he is raw, we know that. But I think you saw that early on, and I think from that to the rest of the first half, I think we smelt blood. And then I won't steal the goal, but on the start, I think you could tell the space on those flanks. I was surprised at that by Konate, because usually that's something you wouldn't think he would give us. I thought we started with a 5, but there was space there, and we exploited that weakness.
I think I mean, that is what I wanted to speak on, and I'll let Steve take it then in that case. JJ Ash, big up yourself, man. Became avid watcher of the channel after following me from the Big Six, so I appreciate it. He goes, Salam, Grizz, thank you for humbling Spurs proper. Of course, Ash is an Arsenal fan. Could have been more embarrassing had Salah and Nunez taken their chances, especially in the first half, and we're hanging in there. But an away win is an away win. Football is a humbler indeed. Respect my G. It absolutely is a humbler. And Steve, Nunez continues to make a lot of people eat a lot of premature words about this fella. It was apparent, as Conroy alluded to, that our game plan was to isolate him up against what's his name, Casino Royale, as much as possible, and the chief creator in that sense was Trent Alexander-Arnold, with some magnificent finds, wasn't it? And you could see that was the plan, to isolate him as many times as possible, because he had him on the proverbial toast.
Yeah, I mean, you see a lot with these new fullbacks in today's football. They're great sort of going forward, they're not brilliant going backwards. We know we've had enough conversations about our own right back, haven't we? Our own fullbacks. Certainly with Emerson Royal, he's not particularly great at either of those things, going forward or going backwards. So why not pick out the weakest points in their side, and why not put your most direct, your quickest player up against him, a guy that wants to get the ball down, get it out of his feet and get after people. So yeah, it was a really good tactical ploy. It was good to see Trent found his passing range, because we talk about Trent having a languid style of play, and sometimes that transmits itself when you're watching as lazy, and some of the passes aren't on point and they're not fired into people. But what you've got to do with Nunez is get the ball to him as quickly as possible, so there's no one else around him other than the guys isolating. And this is why it's sometimes easier to play him slightly wider if he picks the ball up and goes against the fullback than against 2 centre-halves. But you wouldn't want to play against him. Or his first thought is, how can I face you up and I'm going to run you? And he did it to Eric Dyer later on in the game as well. He's ridiculously quick. His movement's really, really good. He seems to be getting better with every single game. And, you know, his stats aren't bad either for someone that has been labelled a flop by rival fans. There'll be a few cases of humble pie before the end of the season with regards to Nunez. Still a bit of a rough diamond. Still some things we can do to make him better than he is.
Absolutely.
But you ask any defender who's played against him this season, what's he like? And they'll all tell you he's a handful, because nobody likes pace, but he's got strength as well. And he's explosive, and he's a powerful guy. And at 6'2", he's a decent physical specimen. So he's pretty much got all the attributes you don't want to play against if you can't defend. And I think Emerson Royal is an example of a modern-day defender that's not great defensively. And most of the Tottenham fans will tell you the same. So really good tactic to isolate their weakness and try and do to other people what's been done to us. But yeah, really, really good. And hopefully Trent can take this his passing range into games for the rest of the season, because I think we'd all be first to admit and to agree that this isn't the high standards we've seen from Trent in recent weeks. But really positive today, really good link up, and I need to see it continue.
Absolutely, guys. There's over 400 of you who have gathered for a Sunday night with the RedFellas. We love and appreciate your support. We'd love and appreciate even more if you could hit that like button. That would be amazing, amazing, amazing. Cav, it pays off. So I have a lovely angle of his first shot, which is probably the fourth shot he's done this season, where he takes it on the volley. One of these is going to go in, and we're going to erupt into madness with celebration, aren't we? Because Lloris pulls off a brilliant save. He then comes inside, another incident that I can remember because we were like right behind this, and he just puts it wide. Or does Lloris get a touch to it? I'm not sure.
I think it's just wide. Yeah.
It's just wide, but you can see the threat is coming down there. The threat is coming down there. I love the way the front three worked. Salah wasn't wide right. Salah was still inverted right. Nunez was starting off wide, but a lot of times he was coming in almost like Diogo Jota plays that role. Don't know what you guys thought. The more I watched it, I thought this is Diogo Jota. Not like how Darwin Nunez, Luis Diaz plays it, but more like Diogo Jota play it, because they play it differently. And I thought Bobby was doing enough in that first half. We'll get on to sort of what could have or should have happened in the second half. But again, it's from that. It's no surprise that the opening goal comes from that side, right? Lovely first touch, which is not what he's famed for. And Steve's totally right. Sometimes he does look a bit rough, but lovely first touch. And the understanding seems to be getting there. Mohamed Salah's touch and crisp finish that is peak Mohamed Salah for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like when people talk about Mohamed Salah, some people say, "Oh, he's not particularly clinical. He's not particularly a good finisher." But that's the exact type of goal he does score, where it's in the box and it's either first touch or it's one touch and out his feet, and the second finish is usually just deadly. But you're dead right. I mean, I thought we started the game really well. I think we started the game in a way that we try and start games now, where it's not gung-ho, it's not crazy, it's a bit more controlled. But sometimes we get caught out doing that because it's a little bit too slow. But today there was a nice tempo about it. There was a good link up, and there was triangles being created, especially on that right-hand side with Elliott. And Trent was able to pick out these passes, diagonals, and Diaz was, I won't say devastating, but he was causing chaos, which is just him all over, isn't it? But the goal comes, I think it was a ball played into Firmino. He turns in the sort of centre of the park. He flicks it out wide to Robertson. And Robertson puts a cross in, and it looks like it's a bit, he's dragged his cross. It looks like he's not put it where he aimed to. And
do you not think he picks it out? Does anybody think he picks him out? Or do you think it was, I mean, I can't remember. I haven't seen it again.
It's tough to say because no one was really going beyond driving into the space between the keeper and the defender. Everybody had sort of hit a line, to be fair, in the box, which is almost on the penalty spot. So if he picked it out, all credit to him. But for me, I feel like he kind of dragged it a little bit. But it lands at Nunez's feet, and he manages to control it and pick his head up and then pick out Salah, which was fantastic to see, because you think of Nunez and how people describe him. You think he's going to be erratic, just shoot or fumble it or something. But no, composure, calmness, picked his head up and picked out Salah. And Salah's first touch just to control it was perfection, really. And then the finish was devastating. And it was just what we deserved, and it's just what we needed. Because in this game, we thought that it was going to be tight. It was going to be hard to break down. It was going to, be a bit of a long day, a bit frustrating. But when that first goal went in, and then experience all the space that the guys was able to play, and you was going, okay, well, this might be a bit different. This might provide us some opportunities. And Salah just absolutely deadly. And I think I read a statistic earlier. He's played 20 games this season, and he's contributed to 19 goals. I think 15 goals, 4 assists. Crazy.
Here we go. Out of form Mo has now 14 goals in 20 games.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I wish I had out of form days and bad days like that. Pixelated Pigeon sends in a super chat. We will address that when we get to the second half. Appreciate the support. He says, what happened tactically second half? Kulusevski on and Bobby off seemed to change things. We were resilient, but piled so much pressure on ourselves. We'll get into that pixelated picture, definitely. But Conroy, first goal was vital. I said it in the preview. I said, whoever scores first will win the game. Whoever scores first will win the game. And that's exactly how it panned out, right? We get the first goal. I wanted us to go for the kill. I don't know how you felt. I don't know what you wanted to do when we scored the first goal, because like Cavs described the first goal, first and foremost, if you want to add on to the goal, lovely, crisp finish. You know, when Salah scores goals like that, you know he's in form. It's like he doesn't drag them. He doesn't think. He just instant touch, bang. It's like training ground. It's like the warm-up drills, what he does. You see a lot of the warm-up drills he does, and they do a lot of those kind of finishes, one-touch finishes. It was imperative. It was so important we scored the first goal because the way they had set up, right?
No, absolutely. I think because we actually surprisingly started the game well. We're not used to seeing that, so that was quite good. It'd be quite counterproductive, especially if we didn't score with that good period of play, because it could easily got forgotten about if Spurs go up the park and score, because they do have a chance in the first half. Even though they don't play well, they do have a chance. So I absolutely agree. I think it was important to get a goal in that good spell, take advantage of the space, because inevitably Conte, whatever your feelings are towards Conte, is he not scared to change things? So that space wasn't going to stay there for the full game. I think it's a great finish. I think it's a confident finish. I think his first touch actually helps make his decision up. I don't know if it means to hit it, touch it for the volley. I'm not going to act like any player means that, but it doesn't matter. He still reacts to it, and because it's that quick thinking, it goes in. Probably similar to what a lot of people say, you don't have to think about it and it makes it easier. Yeah, but I think it's a confident strike for me. Catches, to be fair to Ryan Sessegnon, he actually goes across quite quickly. It's just the touch and the volley is so quick that he can't get there, and Lloris has no chance. It's a brilliant finish. Not much more I can add to it than that. It's what we needed at the time. And then,
but what was your view? But what was your view in terms of, what was your opinion once the game was going on, in terms of how did you want us to approach once we've scored? Did you want us to just make sure we keep it solid for the next 30 minutes?
Smell blood, because it's listen.
That's it. I smell blood. I wanted to go for the kill, and I don't often think like that. I normally think rationally and say, right, let's just try and calm it down and all that. Honestly, I don't know how it felt at home, but I felt like, no, let's really finish them off here.
No, because let's stop putting them on a pedestal, right? Newcastle played them off the park a couple of weeks ago, right? Like Almiron ran the show against them, right? They couldn't live with Newcastle. And Newcastle, I think, went 2-0 up, scored the second quite shortly after Almiron's second goal in that game. The worst thing for us, I think that the most important thing, actually, I feel in this game was getting that second goal before half-time. And I agree with you, Grizz. You could tell there was space there and you had to go for it. To be honest, I actually thought some of our decision-making wasn't great when we got the space against them after the goal. I felt at times we weren't ruthless enough, to be honest. But I agree with you. Watching at home, my fear was they've not got much to now. They've got Mora and Kulusevski on the bench. Obviously, they've got Kane, but there was not much service. They were basically playing Perisic, a winger, behind Kane as a second striker. That wasn't working. So my thinking was, if we can get a second goal before half-time, it will really, really help us, considering we've been shaky all season defensively. I thought that was an imperative, Chris. So I agree. From my first thought after that first goal was, let's get a second and make it really, really difficult for Spurs second half.
Yeah, I think his game plan was very obvious and very clear, wasn't it? His game plan was, let's try to stay in it as long as we can, frustrate them. They're behind us. We're on top of them in the league. They have suffered. They've had shock results where this becomes a must-win. And we were speaking that it is a must-win for us. So I think he tried to play on our minds. And then second half, he thought he'll pick them off. He'll pick us off with Kulusevski coming on, maybe a Mora. You know, he can change it up in the second half because they're not fully fit, etc., etc. I think we, on the other hand, I like the braveness and freshness from Jurgen Klopp. It was brave. We didn't sit back. We really controlled. We played some of the best controlling football we've played this season in that first half, I thought, against a very rigid formation, very powerful set midfield. Bentancur, Højbjerg, and Basuma in midfield is not a joke. It's not a joke, people. And the way, because they were trying to press us, because Perisic was dropped in there as their off the cane striker, like their son. And they were pressing us all over the place, but I love the way we controlled proceedings. And then we get a bit of luck, Steve. There's absolutely nothing wrong with a bit of luck, because I've seen some tweets and I've read on the train back, I read some bullshit about Liverpool lucky. Fucking hell, how unlucky have we been since the start of the season? So what if we got a bit of luck? Eric Dyer with a Dyer header back and falls to the main man.
That's what the commentator said, Chris. It says,
is that what the commentator said?
Yeah, Martin Tyler for once said something quite good. He went,
what wasn't Dyer was Mohamed Salah after that. When he's in that form, and in that mode, there's only one outcome, Steve. 2-0 up before halftime. Happy fucking days. We had a bit of luck.
Well, I've been on a couple of Spurs channels this week, representing obviously what I do for a job. And they've been telling me that they've been starting games really poorly, and they go into half-time, get a bit of a rollicking off the manager and come out and be more effective in the second half. We kind of saw that a little bit today, but we'll get on to the second half. They concede the first goal often as well. It's not just something we do, it's a Spurs trait as well. And obviously it was like, you're right, Grizz, whoever scores the first goal has a very strong chance to go on and win the game. It's a pretty speculative ball straight down the middle on the hope that something happens, and it comes off his left shoulder. It doesn't even come off his head. And then he's lost it. And most touch off the knee, off the thigh to take it across his body is absolutely brilliant, because Dyer can't do anything. He has to sort of check his stride, otherwise he brings him down. And then the little clipped finish, which we've seen so many times from Mo, a little bit of elevation over the top of the keeper's head. 2-0. I wanted them to smell the blood too. That was probably the least likely of our attacks that we were going to score from, because when that ball's pitched down the middle, you just think, okay, it either chest this down and play with it because he had time to do that, or he'd head it out wide for somebody to use it, one of the fullbacks to get on the ball, and it just bounces off his left-hand shoulder. I really don't rate Eric Dyer. I never have. I think Dyer is a very apt name for that as a defender, to be honest with you. Spurs fans are right to be concerned by their back four without Romero, who's a head and shoulders above the rest of them. But real problematic for them today. And like you say, nice to have a bit of luck, because it's all been going against us. Hopefully that changes for a little while now, because when you're not playing well, you don't get any luck. And when you're really on top of things, you kind of get all the luck, don't you? So really good. Really, really alert by Salah, just waiting to sniff an opportunity. And the finish is like one of those glorious goals he scores in an away game at Europe, where he just takes on the keeper and dinks it over the top and just runs away like that, as if saying, well, what, you know.
But again, going back to the position and roles of these players and this new role, not new role, but sort of position that really suits him. It's not through the middle. It's not wide left. It's just in that but area of uncertainty. What do they call it in cricketing terms? The corridor of uncertainty. Jeffrey Boycott named it. Sorry for the cricket analogies, but I'm going to throw in one or two. In fact, I'm going to try to throw in a couple, actually, because Pakistan reached the semi-finals, just in case I didn't tell you, lads. But that corridor of uncertainty where the defender, the fullback doesn't know if he needs to cover him, or the centre-back doesn't know if he should go out wide. And that's where Mohamed Salah's not only quick as lightning, as we know, but he's a smart little operator. He's a very smart little operator. I'm just going to read out a couple of super chats before I get to Cav, and then sort of where it started getting wrong, or did it start getting wrong? Dinesh, we're going to address this as well now. I like what Klopp did for the last 20 minutes, brought on players to see the game off. He knew we needed 3 points. Cav, we done the show with Zuberi, didn't he? Big up, RedFellas. Just my luck. I fell asleep 10 minutes before the game. By the time I woke up, it's already 2-0 at 60 minutes and we're getting pressed. As usual, nothing but negative take from me. You never walk alone.
According to Zuberi, we got played off the park and somehow won.
So as far as Zuberi is concerned, he woke up and saw them hit the crossbar, save after save. Spurs, Liverpool.
That would annoy you if you just woke up and then it's all Tottenham. You would probably not have the most positive outlook from that game.
But people in the chat, if you haven't worked out what Zuberi is one of the best characters that contributes and helps on my channel. He's a regular on the call-in show now. He's absolutely brilliant. But he's got this weird thing of being negative when we win and really happy, but positive, not happy like that we lost, but he brings out the positives of when we lose. Like, look, this is what we're going to do now. So he's weirdo, basically. He's not really. I love him. Shabazz, appreciate the support. He says, big win, bit shaky in the end, but 3 points nevertheless. Onto the Derby game, excited for it. Praying for some sort of Ben Doak cameo, inshallah. We will touch on that, actually. Grizz, relax. Khan, thank you, Liverpool. Thank you, Liverpool. Yeah, listen, I told people relax. I had a good feeling. About today. I really did. Last week was the pits for me. That Leeds and Nottingham Forest in succession was the pits. I thought that was our Lovren against Spurs moment, you could say.
It
whatever
easy,
it was.
Guys. It ain't easy.
It ain't easy. It ain't easy, bro. It ain't easy. Cav, 2-0 up and you think it's easy. Away to White Hart Lane and you think to yourself, job done? Or are we thinking, okay, no? Because now, so like I was saying to Conroy, before I wanted to go for the kill. In the second half, I resorted to type where I was like, okay, 2-0 up, we've got it now. They haven't got much firepower. They haven't got much paces, which is the one thing that hurts us. Now we need to regain the control that we did without having to commit too many players forward. That was my thought pattern for the second half, especially for the first 20 minutes. It was nothing of the sort. Explain what you thought happened in that second half, especially in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah. Cheers for that one, Grizz. Well, I'll just start off by saying, in the first half, Spurs did surprise me a little bit in the sense that they didn't fully sit back. They did press in moments, and they especially tried to press our fullbacks. Now, we were really good in being able to bypass that press, and that's why Trent was getting the opportunities to spread the balls out to Robertson or Nunez and what have you. But they did create a couple of chances. You know, for all their lack of attacking options, they did manage to hit the crossbar with Perisic. Sessegnon got in behind Trent a couple of times. There was a question mark over, there was a penalty shout. It was never a penalty. I don't even know why they discussed it on commentary. So there was slight opportunities for Spurs, and we rode our luck a little bit with the Perisic one that come off the bar. So it told me that we're not fully, home and hosed in this game. And look, they're 2-0 down. They actually got booed off the pitch. I'm not sure if you heard that from where you were, Grizz, but it told us that we basically were going to be still in for a game in this second half. We know that Spurs are a better team in the second half. So, over the moon being 2 up at half time, but this by no means was over. And look, we come out in the second half, and within the first few minutes, Spurs looked different and they created a chance. I can't recall, maybe the guys can help me out here. I can't recall the exact chance they created, but it was pretty obvious that Konate had switched things up a little bit. They were going to go out and try and get a goal back. And I went from going, okay, we're in this game, just control it and you'll get chances. Don't be silly at the back, you'll get chances attacking. It very quickly became pretty dominant from Spurs, and we were struggling to get out at times, and they were not creating clear-cut chances, but the pressure was on us. And
it was pressure. It was momentum. It was pressure.
Yeah,
that's how it felt.
Yeah, and you can always tell, when we're defending, we're happy to sit back, happy to defend our box. We've got a lead. Of course, there's reasons to, but it's always pretty telling when the likes of Virgil and Konate and the fullbacks are picking up the balls after defending a situation, and it's just being lobbed back up, and it's not sticking, and it's coming straight back at you. And that went on for quite a while in the second half, and I was chewing my fingernails throughout all of that.
Jamie says we got very, very lucky today. Awful display. I disagree. I thought we got lucky, but I don't think it was an awful display. So what I'm trying to say there, in that case, I'm trying to say sometimes you got to give credit to the other team, the other coach. I thought we were very good in the first half, and Jurgen Klopp was very good in the first half. I think Antonio Conte, the brilliant coach that he is, rallied his team, sorted his team out, and they had to go back. You got to remember, this is a team that's third, I believe, or was third in the Premier League. This is a team that's gone through as group winners of their Champions League. This is a team that's coached by Antonio Conte. They will and are allowed to have a spell of dominance. in my opinion. And I think this is what it was. It was a period of dominance, and it's the old adage of 2-0. I know it's a bit of a cliche, but it's a dangerous scoreline. If we get a third, this could be a rout. If they get the third, this could be squeaky bum time. They get the third goal, Conroy.
Yeah, I think though, in maybe hindsight, I think when it's 2-0, we could have, the passing to get in to make a third, to get a third for us. I feel like we maybe could have been better there. As Cav said, the kind of that control of the first half, good spells. One touch passing, I meant to say first half, I thought that was very good, especially from Harvey linking in with Firmino and Thiago and Firmino and Salah as well. I thought the one touch was really quite good, 1-2 touch moving around. Felt like you never really saw much of that second half. There was chances now and again, but for me, we could have exploited that better, because I feel like when it is 2-0, Grizz, it's like you've still got, there will be more space because that team has to come out. Don't think we really took advantage of that at all. And don't get me wrong, if Spurs scored like on the stroke after half time with the Perisic chance, I think you're referring to Cav, that smacks the bar outside when he's outside just inside the box of the left foot, then I can understand because it's very early. But they didn't score till the 68th minute. So there was a spell, I think Nunez hits the bar, I think it's offside. But in that little spell there after the Perisic chance, we could have done more to get on the ball and just use and create more chances on the counter. That's what the criticism I'd say for that. But as soon as they score, I'll go and explain the score with Kane. And when you've got Harry Kane in a team, he is a deadly finisher. You've always got a chance. So the way
well, basically, just to sort of help you along with that, and sort of the key substitution for them was always going to be, at what point does he bring in Kulusevski?
Yeah, no, I was just going to refer to that, Grizz, actually, before I describe the goal. I'd said to Steve and Cab before you came in, I think this guy is a real deal. I think he's an excellent player. I would put him on a par with the Diaz signing. I don't care if you just want to disagree. I think Kulusevski came on that park, and within seconds, we couldn't handle his movement. He was picking up pockets, and he was just basically moving our midfield and our fullbacks all over. Hence why I think Klopp brings Jones on to stick on him after that. But anyway, what a player. I think he really is superb. And he comes on, I think he's on for 60 seconds and he gets assist. So I think it's ball goes out down the right side to Doherty, plays it inside to Kulusevski, takes it in, actually turns inside past Thiago, something like Thiago would usually do to an opponent, and then slides Kane in with a beautiful through ball. A good through ball, not beautiful because it is quite a simple through ball. And then Konate, to be fair, gets there, but Kane hits the right-footed effort first time, cross Alisson, bottom corner. It is a top finish from a top clinical striker. It really is. But this is the thing. When you're against a team with someone like that, the match now goes on its head, because momentum is everything. You could have the best tactical team in the world. Momentum is everything in football, as Klopp says notoriously all the time. And as soon as that goal came in, I'm panicking. I'm like, oh no, here we go. It's an excellent finish. I don't think anyone could do anything about it. You can maybe question Konate could get a foot across, but I just think it's a really, really good finish, to be honest. Sometimes you talk about credit in a manager. I think sometimes there's certain goals you have to give credit to the opposition player. So for me, it was a good goal, but genuinely, Kulusevski was on the park for 60 seconds and he'd done that. Thankfully, he only played for 30 minutes today, guys, because I think if he was on the park any longer, it may not have been out a victory for us, to be honest, because I thought he was dictating so much when he came on that it was preferable. They didn't have him on the park for the full game today.
But to counter that, if we had Jota today, I've been screaming out. If we had Jota today, we would have won that more comfortably. I'm 100% sure as well. So look, injuries and missing personnel. I'm not really
in that stage of the game. In that stage of the game, I think, Grizz, though, it's like he had quite a. Don't get me wrong, I agree with you. I'm just saying, I couldn't believe the difference when he came on the park. That Tottenham team, how much better they looked. That's what I was meaning to say.
Agree, but just before that momentum was building, I was like, Sass, if you're still here, you can mention in the comments. I was going berserk, Steve. I was kept. Do you know when you go through a bit of madness and you start shouting and thinking that Klopp and the coaches can hear you? Like, you have that bit as a fan where you look back, right? If you have an out of body experience, you're looking at yourself and you say, who are you shouting at? What are you doing?
You expecting her just to go,
Yeah.
Turn to Pep.
Yeah.
Grizz has
Yeah.
just said.
Yeah, he's shouting. Can't you see him? He's passionate. I was going, Hendo, bring on Hendo and Jones, Elliot and Bobby, do it, because I could see it. And I could see they kept switching it. And they had done a lot of work. Bobby's played a lot of football. Bobby's got a lot of mileage, very much like Fabinho, very much like Milner, very much like Henderson. He's been very much like Mane, and Ginny before that. These guys have been the spine, the backbone of our team for 5-6 seasons. And Bobby was out of it in that second half. In the opening 20 minutes, I was like, take Bobby off. Elliot, I was torn because Elliot was playing lovely football. Elliot's touches were crisp, but they were physically imposing themselves on him now, overpowering him now. And I was screaming out just before that goal, bring on Hendo and Jones, A, was you screaming the same? Did you really think Klopp could hear you as well? B, right? And C, once that goal goes in, because then we change it, don't we? Because then he has to change it because the momentum by then is fully with Spurs.
I think Bobby's tired by the end of the first half. You can see Bobby's flagging a little bit. What's interesting is the position he's been playing in, the positions he's been finding himself in defensively have been supporting our slightly weaker midfield. I think it's a feature of why we've been getting results of late, like City game, like the games in Europe when we're using one of the forwards to drop back in and make it almost a third man in midfield. And this is where this diamond analogy comes from. When he's tired and he can't do it, Spurs committed an extra man forward. The amount of times Eric Dyer found himself out wide right with nobody on him, and if you watch on TV, Grizz, when you catch it up, there was a case where they got the ball in the box, and Allison screams at Robbo because Dyer's in 20 yards of space and he puts a half decent ball in. He's obviously trying to make up for the mistake for the goal. So Spurs had to change something at 2-0 at half time. That game plan they've got isn't working, and we probably score again. So they think, right, as it is, we're getting nothing. We'll change the shape. We'll commit an extra man to try and go wide, which is what City did against us. When Rodri was getting no joy, Rodri went over and played on the right-hand side, a bit nearer to Kevin De Bruyne to try and get an overlap, to try and get some space down our left-hand side. The switch was on every single time, and it always is against Liverpool, and it always will be. But we lost a bit of control, and I was sitting there thinking, we're just inviting trouble. And even when we made the changes with Henderson and Jones, when they came on, we dropped off 10 yards, and we invited so much trouble. I'm sitting there thinking, we're either going to catch them on a breakaway and get a third, and the game's done, or this is going to go right to the wire, and we're going to be under loads and loads of pressure. And they had a couple of really, really good headers, which they didn't do anything with other than head them straight at Allison. So they're changed. They're more of a gung-ho approach. And this has been a feature of Spurs. If you think about when you've watched Match of the Day or you've watched Spurs games, is they come out in the second half and they're not the same team as they were in the first half. They're a bit more cavalier. They're a bit more attack-minded. And there's a bit of a notion that Antonio Conte is a very defensive manager. But if you look at the goals scored by Inter Milan when he was at Inter Milan, he really isn't. What he's trying to do with Spurs at the moment, until he gets more bodies in more transfer windows, is he's trying to find a system for the players that he's got. And good managers will do that. Klopp did it when he came to Liverpool. He found a system that worked for those players until he could use the transfer windows to bring in better players. So they just came out in the second half and went a little bit more cavalier, took a few more risks, and it paid off for them because we're not a side that's in a great run of games, a great run of fixtures, a great run of results. There will always be a moment when we doubt ourselves because we've been doing that a lot this season. So all Spurs did was put themselves in a position to ask a Liverpool team desperate for its first win on the road in the league this season a few questions. And in doing so, they took a few more risks and it paid off for them. They got right back into the game. And as Conroy said, when Kulusevski comes on, his movement's clever. He's a big, powerful boy. He likes to get at people. We talk about Nunez isolating people and wanting to get at them. Kulusevski's, for me, a similar stature. He's a big lad, isn't he? But he's still on loan. So is he actually playing for his future at his loan club, or is he playing for a move to Spurs? Who knows? But he made them look different. And I think we really, second half, and a lot of people have referenced this in the chat. We really sat there, and I think we asked for trouble in the second half.
We did. I thought someone's mentioned here, assets mentioned here that very surprisingly, Thiago started giving the ball away in silly positions. I thought he could have been far better than he was on the ball. Look, let's start getting into sort of. By the way, guys, that was now Jurgen Klopp's 250th win of his Liverpool reign, becoming the first since Bob Paisley. So that is some record, some going in his 401st game now. It's an absolute terrific stat. That he earned his money in the end, Cav. He makes changes. I thought he made the right changes. Like Grizz Khan was shouting at him from the stands to take off Elliot and Bobby Firmino, and he ended up taking off Bobby Firmino and Elliot. So he was right. It's not a coincidence, lads. I was saying Hendo and Jones on, Elliot and thing off, and that's what happened. So if you listen to me, we might have clipped clean sheet, but beggars can't be choosers. we begged for 3 points. We got 3 points. The next set of the next significant change, or not significant because right near the end, but he brings on Gomez, takes off Nunez, and reverts to 3 centre-backs. We don't often do that, do we? I think what that was meant to do was make Trent and Robertson really go out wide, and so therefore those switches, where they were having such time and space to deliver crosses in, don't allow that to happen. Trent was still allowing it to happen, Cav. I don't want to... Maybe I want to. No, I don't want to, but I just want to speak on it because it was still frustrating me. I thought Trent was marvellous on the ball. Some of the passing and some of the switches of play was Trent back to his best. I still think he's asleep defensively. Or is that my angle where I was looking at? Or should I have not been worried? Was it more comfortable than it looked?
Nah, that's fair. I think it's clear in this large portion of the second half there was a game plan to switch the play quickly with the long diagonals, and it was to both fullbacks. So there was targeting Trent, and then there was also having Dyer overlap on the right hand side, as been mentioned. But they were still trying to target Trent in the sense, because either you target him directly and you get the ball to your winger, which at this moment in time was Perisic, and he was one-on-one every single time. And Perisic isn't a particularly technical player, but if he can gain a yard, he can put a really good cross in, and he was managing to do that. And Trent wasn't quite getting out to him enough. Or you target Trent in the other way, whereby you cross the ball from the other flank and double up on him on the back post, and that happened on a few occasions.
They were trying both tactics. You're right. They were both. Yeah. They were doing the double upping on the flank and then doubling up on the near post as well at every opportunity as well. It was interesting. Exactly. There wasn't much going through the middle. You're right, and they were doing the same on the other side, especially when they brought on Doherty.
Exactly, but they didn't manage from Dyer and Kurilevski's side to really get that ball to the back stick and isolate him as such. So yeah, I was the same as you when Elliot Elliot come off, and who was the other one? Sorry, who come off at the same time?
Elliot and Bobby. Yeah,
I was screaming out for it. I felt like what was really good with Elliot in the first half was he was coming to receive the ball. He was playing it first time. We was creating triangles and playing our way out of our half. In the second half, it wasn't quite happening. I feel like he was the best out of the 3 midfielders at receiving the ball, still offering himself, still giving it. But I felt as though he needed to be sacrificed a little bit because, as you say, physically, we were just being dominated. And I really wanted us to get numbers in the midfield. I needed to help the guys out. And I thought bringing Henderson on would have done that with Trent, because you'd have got out there and doubled up and made sure that them crosses weren't coming in or he weren't being isolated as much. But that didn't quite happen. That substitution didn't really nullify that threat. It still continued to occur. And then, towards the end of the game, 87th, 86th minute, I think he brings Gomez on and takes Nunez off. And at this point, it's like, yeah, I'm definitely making sure that I solidify this defense now. Make sure I've got the numbers across that back line to nullify the cross, or at least make sure it's our head that's on the ball to get it away. So it was smart, but I felt like every substitution should have been about 10 minutes earlier. I felt like I was kind of screaming out for it before it happened. So the right subs just done, not at the wrong time, because look, we got the result, but I felt like we were under a lot of pressure, and I felt like we rode our luck a little bit, and I felt like he could have made them subs a bit sooner. But Trent, going back to him, when Gomez come on, I think Trent thought that gave him the freedom to then start attacking again. Because at one point, and Gary Neville picked it up in the commentary, we defended a situation in our own box and the ball got turned over. And if you look at where Trent is, he's already facing up the pitch, ready to run. And it's like, no, that's not what this three at the back is brought to do.
It's a 94th minute. 94th minute he's doing this.
Defending a 1-goal lead. And he thought that bringing Gomez on meant he could go and start attacking again. Yeah. And it was like, absolutely not. So he again, some crazy, not decision making, but off the ball decision making, I would say, at times where, going up the pitch in that moment is just ludicrous, But he got through it. I think we've seen the good and the bad with Trent today, to be honest. Isolated, caught out at times, but as you say, going forward was fantastic. And I don't want to jump ahead, but he was saved today by Konate being on the pitch, who was immense once again.
Where you have jumped ahead, but it's a brilliant jump ahead because that was my next topic of conversation. We survived, we gritted it out, we got lucky, however you want to put it, and it's everyone's interpretation is valid to a certain extent. Sometimes you do have to have a bit of luck. Sometimes not every chance the opposition should go in, like has been the case with us. Like every time the opposition have a counter-attack or have a corner or set piece, it goes in. In terms of what I meant by that is like teams' efficiency is fucking sky high against us. So sometimes it's okay to have a bit of luck. And as I've said, sometimes you've got to credit, like Conroy said, that goal was lovely constructed goal from Kulusevski and Harry Kane, two, I'd say, world-class players. And sometimes there's not a lot you can do about it. But a world-class performance. We won't get into man of the match yet. Cav, please don't give me your man of the match before I ask for it. Or I'll ask for it again, and then you'll have to, repeat yourself, which no one likes doing. But I think, Conroy, you get first dibs on, even though I'd wish you could ask me. I wish you could take over this part and say, Grizz, what did you think about Ibu Konate? Because I want to wax lyrical about this guy until I see him play a game. Because
it's your channel. It's your channel.
No. I haven't heard from you all week. And so this is your time. Conroy, I've spoken about this kid so many times, but he was magnificent today.
Yeah, no, he was. I thought he really has made a massive difference coming back in the team, especially compared to what we've been when he's not been in the playing centre back for us recently. And it's like I said about Kulusevski coming on, it's like chalk and cheese for the difference he's made for us. He's been superb. I think someone I was watching a stream earlier said he played like the leader today in that defence, and I think that's a really kind of apt description of his performance. Like he was the one who led out of the partnership with Virgil. I'm not saying Virgil was terrible by any means, but it felt like he was the one who was going in for the aerial challenges a lot, really leading by example to defend in that back line. And I thought he was outstanding. And he's just going to get better, though. This is the thing about him. He is still a young player. He's going to get little parts that will improve. I think there was a little spell we maybe gave a few passes away because he was a bit trigger happy to release the ball in the first half. But these are minor details. He's playing at such a high level since he's came back. It actually might be one of, I'm going to say it, so maybe going a bit early with this, but it might be one of the best signings we've had to get someone like that so young when he's already at this level. Is it not scary to how good he could become? Does that not scare you guys a little bit? Like how good that could be an unbelievable signing in 5 years?
It's not scary at all. I'm embracing it. I don't think scared.
I mean
I know what you mean.
How good he can get. How good he can get. Yeah.
Sass sends in a super chat and he says, I'll have to buy him dinner now because he sent me a super chat. What was the point of that? You know what I mean? You now I've got to buy you dinner. Like you give me, I give you. Fuck's sake, Sass. But he says, Ibu is a man-child, monster in the making class. Yeah, you're right, Conroy. Look, the issue before we bought him, I guess I'll come to you, Stina, was what's the injury situation like going forward? He's missed a lot of football. and we were tentative, and a lot of people were panicking and worrying because we bought him to replace some of the most injury-plagued centre-backs we've had forever, right? Do you remember that period and era?
Yeah.
Or time, I should say. But he's been magnificent. He had an impact injury first game of the season, last game of preseason, in an innocuous challenge right at the end, which enables him to miss. I genuinely think we don't sit where we are in the league if we have Ibu Konate playing for us in the games that the other lads have been playing. This is how highly I rate him already. We've spoken about his performances near the end of the last season where he was the outstanding centre-back in our team. It seems like he's left off. He's come back where he left off.
Oh, 100%. And what's interesting is if you look at the players he's up against in terms of taking that position, Matip is a really intelligent footballer in terms of reading things and cutting them out, and he's great coming forward with the ball at his feet. You look at Joe Gomez. Joe Gomez gives you pace, but he gives you lack of concentration at times. And what Konate gives you is pace and power. And alongside Van Dijk, who's also pace and power and IQ. So Van Dijk, for me, is on his game is a little bit of all of them, but at a really high level. Whereas Konate comes in powerful, pacey, strong, reads the game well, good in the tackle. If you could clone him twice and put that type of pace and power into our midfield, we would piss it, because at the moment we're still getting overrun in the midfield. So if you're looking for a type of player to sign in terms of physicality, pace and power, then the model should be, let's have the physical attributes of a Konate, but with the ability to play football in the middle of the park. And then it's done and dusted, because that's where we're still getting overrun. We got overrun in the last half an hour today in the centre of the park, even bringing Henderson on, which is why I said I thought Fabinho, Thiago and Elliott is the strongest three that he's got, because Henderson's 32. We've asked an awful lot of him. We have to manage his minutes. We need players of that athletic prowess to sit in the middle of our park. It's a massive game changer for us. But you're right. Since he's come back in, he will learn. He will improve. Conroy's right. I think the point Conroy's trying to say is it's staggering where this guy's ceiling actually is, because we don't know at the moment. He seems to be growing and developing every single time. And had we won the Champions League final, his performance on the night would have gone down as one of the greatest centre-back performances a European Cup final has ever seen, because he was immense. Just happens that the result didn't go our way, so everybody forgets that. But he is, at 23, the footballing world genuinely is his oyster. He's going to learn next to probably the highest IQ central defender in the world, which is why Van Dijk doesn't always have to use physical attributes, because he reads everything so well and he positions himself so well. And he's had a few off games this season, we know this, but by and large, we all expect an 8.5 or a 9 out of 10 from Van Dijk every week. And for the most part of the time he's been at the football club, he's delivered that. So playing alongside players like that, Konate is only going to get better. 5 years' time, this guy is going to be arguably the best centre-half in the planet. He's got everything. He's got everything you could ever want. A bit rash in the pass, like it was picked up before. Too keen sometimes to play the ball into Bobby's feet when it's not on. Just sees Bobby and plays the pass, or tries to play the pass and gets intercepted. But those are things that only game time will allow you to learn when to do it and when not to do it. But his ceiling is frightening. You know, I saw a comment today that, you know, in the future, him and Saliba, another guy who's got ridiculously high ceiling, will be France's central defensive partnership. And if you're a France fan, amazing. What a combination to have. But we've got Konate. He's absolutely brilliant. He's just going to go from strength to strength. He's a baby in football in terms. He's got so much to learn, and he'll do it.
Especially in centre-back terms. I keep referring back to the point when people start on Trent and everything, and I say they're babies in terms of when defenders peak. But we'll get to man of the match just in a second, but that second half performance, and Steve touched upon it, and I want to just sort of develop it further into a conversation. And it's that conversation about our midfield. As good as they were in that first half, and I thought they were very controlling and they're very dominant and they played really well, the legs did run out again, didn't it? And it was very apparent to to every person that watched that game, that it was a physical issue. It was literally, well, to me anyway, so I won't speak for everyone, it was a physical issue. The power, the pace, the energy levels, they just couldn't keep it going. I expected them to keep it going because let's not forget Spurs had a rough game in Marseille in Champions League in the week as well. So we shouldn't have been outrun or outpowered like that. It just goes sort of with the notion, Cav, that we're crying out for a Konate type midfielder. When I mean a Konate type, I mean a pace, powerful, energized midfielder, just to give us that foundation that we've always had in recent teams and we don't quite have right now.
Yeah, definitely. I think that was part of the issue in the second half, is the legs did start to go on some of the guys. I thought Fabinho, he wasn't great today, but I thought he was
better.
He showed signs of improvement for sure. Funnily enough, in the opposite sense, I thought Thiago was a bit off it today. I felt like the first half he was okay, he was good. In the second half, he looked a bit off it, and I actually lay some blame to him on the goal we conceded because he's on the wrong side of the ball and he's actually trying to chase back and get in behind, and he's nowhere near it. And then that's where Kulevski manages to find the space. It's actually the space that Thiago vacates. At times, actually, without going on too much about him, he does this individual press that seems a little bit unnecessary. Yeah, and none of the team go with him. And I kind of feel like at times maybe he's trying to get people up the pitch. Maybe he's trying to put some pressure on. But he does this run up the pitch, and it really leaves a gap in midfield. And he ultimately has to run back because he rarely wins the ball. So I feel like he needs to be a bit careful there. But I feel like a lot of these boys now, a lot of fans are probably the same. They're just thinking, get by Southampton, one more game. I know we've got Derby, but I think we'll rotate in that. Get by this one game because we could all do with the rest. It's like, I think we could all do with that. I know it's a World Cup and some of the boys will be going, but Thiago won't be going. Fabinho, I'm not too sure on, but a lot of the guys are going to just trying to get over this last hurdle now, get over the line. And some of them have been playing more minutes than they'd expect. Thiago's probably one of them. Firmino's probably one of them. Fabinho, for how bad he's been, he is still playing. He's only been dropped out a couple of games, replaced by Henderson. So, the legs look heavy. And it's not so much like being able to get across the pitch. It's once you get the ball, it's the mind's tired. You don't quite have the sharpness and make the right decisions because you're ultimately just running on empty. So I think a lot of these guys could just get to this break, and then we've got some real tough fixtures when we come back, but we'll be slow. We'll be quickly getting into January where reinforcements can be brought in just to help these guys, and we need that athletic person that can receive the ball and get across the pitch and sort of help cover and help be the legs and the energy just to lift these guys up when they are tiring.
Absolutely spot on. I'm not sure if Conroy or Steve want to come in terms of the profile of player that should be absolutely on top of any potential lists on the 1st of January, or is there? Because shout out to Keith, special Big K himself, who I'm so happy he hasn't joined us today because it would have hurt me. He's come on for a win again, after all the defeats and draws he's chickened out of. So in a way, I'm happy he hasn't turned up today. But shout out Keith, because he said very earlier on, even that we were having lots of debates, Conroy, do you remember, in terms of what kind of midfielder we're looking for, and some of us were getting swayed into sort of the Jude Bellingham types in terms of the attacking eight or someone who can play as one of the eights on either side. But he was adamant, and I think many have come round to that thinking now, that that number one profile should be a dominating, energized, a younger Fabinho, basically, I'd say.
Yeah, no, I think athletic legs obviously can link up and play football. It's not just like any athletic footballer, but someone definitely, our engine room, you can massively see that's just not got the legs at the moment. And even in good performances like today, it died down very quickly. And equivalently, it was a siege at one point. Not saying Tottenham ripped us apart, but it looked like we couldn't get out at times. So 100% agree with Keith's point on that. As I said, I thought you were going to say Declan Rice, so that's why I was laughing, because Keith's in love with Declan Rice.
So very quickly, let's go around. But if we go around the panel very quickly while we're here, and you've mentioned it, so there seems to be a link with Declan Rice. I would take him. Now, if you're going to say, but the price, you guys know my answer. I can't give a shit about the price. If a Declan Rice is available and Jurgen Klopp wants him, I'm not saying it because Jurgen Klopp wants him. I want him. Sorry, I'll start that again. I don't care about the price. If Declan Rice wants to come to Liverpool when he was available, I'd go for him. Just very quickly, your thoughts, and then you can continue.
I think if you sort the problem out either side of the 6, so in a slightly more advanced role, in where Thiago's playing or when Elliot's playing, and I've said this loads of times on our show, I think Fabinho sometimes has been made to look worse than he is because he's getting no support left and right of him. So I think if you go and buy a Caicedo who doesn't play in the 6, but gives you a bit more physicality and a bit more power, and he's along the lines of a Konate in terms of stature and pace and power, that helps us massively. I know you say you don't care about the money. I think whatever West Ham ask for Declan Rice is ridiculously inflated. He's not £100 million player for me, so I'd have. It's not my money, so they can spend it. I don't care, but I'd have reservations spend £100 million for someone like Declan Rice. I don't think he's a £100 million player, but I don't think necessarily we need to solve the 6. We need to have more energy in the box-to-box stuff, the stuff when it breaks down in transition and they get on the wrong side of us. You can sit a world-class number 6 in there, but if he's got 3 guys running at him, it won't make a lot of difference. You need more support either side, and it's interesting that Thiago's been picked up today. Thiago gave the ball away in absolutely ridiculous areas today and caused us so many problems. At one stage, he tried a 2-yard little layoff, got nothing on it, and straight away we're under pressure. Really, as good a footballer as he is, and he's a delight to watch when things are going well. When we're under pressure and we're playing on the stretch, some of his decision making comes into question. If we bought 2 in January, 2 athletic, powerful, like the lad from PSV, for instance, and Caicedo, and played them either side of Fabinho, you would see Fabinho's game improve. He's had no help at all in that midfield.
Go on, Kav. Your opinion on Declan Rice link, just because it was mentioned.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with everything Steve says, but I also think a 6 is such a pivotal position in your team because not only do they protect the back 4, and if they're good at reading the game, they can put out fires before they escalate and get onto your defense. But they also, dictate tempo. They can naturally be in front of the defense and at the center of the pitch. If they receive the ball and able to receive the ball in tight areas, and they can spread it out wide and dictate where the ball is, and they can dictate the play from that central deep position so well that it can relieve pressure in a different way. It doesn't always necessarily be the tackles and getting across the pitch. To think of someone like Pirlo, he's a perfect example. Stick him under pressure, he'll just put a ball over, curl it into the winger or the forward that's running onto it. So they can relieve pressure in so many different ways. And I do think that's where, Fabinho used to be so good, and we used to call him the lighthouse, is because he overseen everything. He's seen where the people were isolated and was able to get over and cover on them. He's seen where the opposition had a bit of a loose pass and he would snap on it. But at the same time, when he received the ball again, he would turn the ball over and he'd either play it out wide, he'd put that clip ball into the box. You're able to do so much from that position that I think if you're an expert at it, and I think Declan Rice is getting to that expert level at it, he's so good in the tackle, but actually I really like the way he sort of gets up with the ball and he'll either drive through midfield or will play the right pass, and suddenly pressure's relieved. And that's why I would definitely be going for a 6 and be going for Declan Rice over a number 8 for me at the minute.
Conroy, I know you brought it up. You get the final say on it.
I would say, I think realistically, if we do go for Rice, probably going to be summer. I may be wrong. That's why we're going to look for a 6. I think we definitely. I actually think by Cav and Steve, both really good points. Actually, I just think right now though we need legs first. So I would say get 1, definitely 1. I actually want 2. I think 2 in January. And then, Cav, excellent points about the sticks, but maybe look at that in the summer, I would say, because then if you bring that competition in for Fabinho, I think, and not to go back on it, Grizz, but the Chouameni signing, I think, would have helped not just with that player, but it probably would have motivated other players like Fabinho to have to step up his game. And I'm not just saying like it's because it's obviously fitness fatigue. You know, maybe he's overall his confidence is on the floor. He's getting overran, as Steve said. He's not got the players around him. But I think that signing would have helped. I think for me, the Rice one, if it does happen, that's a summer signing in January to athletic eights. Personally, I think it's what we need.
I think the win today has had a very positive impact in many ways. So, and I think we've already forgotten that before Derby in the Cup and then the Southampton game, we have the small matter of the Champions League draw tomorrow morning. And it's fantastic to be in it again. It really is fantastic. And it's no small achievement, people. There's many a club that would love to be in a knockout draw for the Champions League. So your thoughts, guys? Any preferences, or are we back in the mode of bring it on? February's 2 months, 4 months away, 3 months away, 3 months away. So much can happen in 3 months. God knows what stage we're at in terms of fitness, our players back, and any possible new arrivals, like I think there will be in January. Taking all that into consideration, Steve, what's your thoughts on the Champions League? Just bring it on. From what I know of you, yeah.
I've always been a bring it on guy. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to sit here having genuinely watched 5 of the 6 with interest because of the 77 one. I was a bit just getting into football to give away my age now. But we've just dealt with everyone that was put in front of us. And Liverpool teams of old and successful Liverpool teams have always said, we will worry about our team and let them worry about our team. We don't worry about the opposition. Real Madrid, for instance, let's use them as an example. For anybody that draws them, is a better draw over 2 legs than it is in a final because of the heritage. They haven't lost the European final since God knows when. 1981, I do believe, is probably the last time they lost the European final. No, they lost one to Valencia, didn't they? So whoever it is doesn't really matter. If you ask me to pick, you take one of the Portuguese sides all day long, wouldn't you? Because of our record against them. Porto, the aggregate scores like 29-2 or something in recent years against Porto. So you kind of would pick Porto if you had to pick one. But there are no really easy draws. They're all difficult draws at this stage because these guys will go out of the groups for a reason. I'm not too worried who we get because at some point you're going to have to play somebody you'd rather not play to win a Champions League. So it's going to happen at some point anyway. But if I could cherry pick one, I'd probably pick Porto or Benfica.
These are our options, Cav. Madrid, Bayern, Benfica, Porto, Steve's. I knew Steve's answer before he gave it, but I still got to do my job and ask it. What's your thoughts? Interesting to hear your thoughts.
Give me the easiest route to the final possible. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I totally, I get it. Like, we've actually raised our games against some of the better sides we've played this season, but it's the Champions League. Like, it's a 2-legged affair. One of them's going to be at Anfield. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think the first leg's going to be at Anfield, isn't it? Which I think that's the case when you finish second.
Yeah, that's if you finish second. I'm sure that's the case because if you win the group, second legs at home, I think it used to be. It may have changed.
But either way, you know, like, I don't think motivation is going to be an issue for these boys. So in that case, give me the easiest possible route, and whoever you get in the final is going to be a tough game regardless, because you're both there on merit, and anything can happen over the course of one 90-minute game. So I would pick. I would probably pick Porto. We've got good recent history playing them. And Portugal's not a very far trip, so let's go over there and do it.
I really don't agree with our latest tactical analyst, because I call him my tactical analyst. He's got some great videos lined up on our channel, people. Make sure you check them out. I will promote them further on in the next week or so. But he says, I want Real Madrid. Easy routes to the final. Don't prepare us properly. No, not for me. Conroy?
No, I think if you watched Real Madrid recently as well, over the last 6 months, I think, obviously, Ancelotti tactically, but I just think they're just absolute winners right now. They've just got a winning mentality. Even when they're terrible in some games, they don't lose. Look at the Shakhtar game. Last minute, Rudiger gets basically knocked out to score an equaliser in the last minute. I think Madrid right now, I want to avoid Madrid. Madrid are just, now for me, second leg at the Bernabeu, I just think they're so good at getting the job done. And last year should show you with the route, because I was saying they're not going to get to the final, they're not going to beat Man City, they're not going to beat Chelsea, they're not going to beat Liverpool. Well, they beat all three of us, right? And they said they were going to do it, and they did. So for me right now, no, Porto or Benfica, I think come back after the World Cup, I'll take that. I'd actually take Bayern Munich over Real Madrid. I don't want Real Madrid. That's just, what do you think, Grizz?
Same.
I'm with Cav. I've always said this. I don't give a shit about revenge. I don't give a shit about glamour ties. I don't give a shit about exciting ties like Omar, young Omar. This is what, you know. I don't give a shit about any of that. No, I don't. I couldn't give a shit. I want the easiest route to the final. I want all the big guns playing themselves and smashing themselves and teams dropping out. And I just want to win. Like today, I didn't give a shit about the performance in terms of, oh, people are saying they were really nasty, it was awful, it was disgusting. I couldn't give a shit. We've played far better and lost games or dropped points. Sometimes you've got to balance it up. This world is so unbalanced, man. Why don't people see this, man? It's not always about the performance equals the result. No, sometimes the result equals a bad performance, but the result is the all, end all, and the be all. But shout out to Ben from Young Bucks. He says, Grizz, I'm going to be bored like you at the end of the season. This team is stress. This team is stress. But this is why we love them. This is what we support them. This is why we go home and away. Watch them every day. Wake up at crazy times, wherever you are, whichever part of the world you are. Because this will be, and we're not going to stop, are we? We're not going to stop. Even if they'd lost today, we wouldn't have stopped. All right, that's it then. All right, that's another defeat or another drop points away to Spurs. Fuck it. I'm giving up. You're not going to give up on this team. No one's going to give up on this team. And if you're going to give up on this team, well, then you're a dickhead in the first place. Yeah, you are. You're a dickhead. If you're going to give up just because you can't take the pressure and the heat right now, just because you've seen the glory, but a bit of pressure, a bit of heat, a bit of rivalry, banter, and you're giving up, you're a dickhead, man. You're not a true supporter. You're a fan. You're a fanboy. Now you're going to move on to the next team that you want to be a fanboy of. Because support is, we've seen, hopefully, because that Jurgen Klopp fist pump at the end was out of relief than actually he thought he's achieved something. That fist pump at the end that I saw with thousands of others really got us going, lads. I'm not joking. It really got the fans going because that was Jurgen Klopp after weeks of looking distressed, distraught, weak. He's made errors. He admits, I'm not the perfect manager. I'm not the perfect coach. He's a human. We've glorified him in his making of this amazing, brilliant team. And we've ridiculed him. We've cussed him when he's made errors and decisions that we think are wrong. And apparently so they are in hindsight. But today that was passion, that was relief, that was stress, all came out in those fist pumps. And it was so happy to see him. And that's all we can do. We go and we go again, we go again, we go again. Tomorrow, Champions League draw, Southampton. Very quickly, people, I'm expecting pretty much a different 11. Anyone think otherwise, first and foremost?
No, changing.
Surely, right? Because Southampton, managerless Southampton, probably by the time we play them, fuck me, I don't want to give presents out and make the start of a season for another opposition team again. I don't want another team's good luck story or turning point be us again. I hate that. So we need to deal with Southampton. Then we put our feet up, do what we got to do, and pick our World Cup teams, support them, watch them, and we go again. We go again. Thank you, lads, for joining me today. It's been a fantastic show. We have finally a win to talk about, and an away win, and a double 6-pointer who's someone who's going to be with us fighting for top 4, maybe top 2, top 3, whatever it is, and we've turned them over. What do we say, Cav, the other day? Enjoy days like this. If you're going to moan on days like this, on top of days when regrettably we will have bad days because we're a football team, you can't win every single game, then you're going to be distressed and miserable a lot of your time. So big up yourselves. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Cav. Thank you, Conroy. It's been amazing. This has been RedFellas on a Sunday night. Don't forget to like the stream on your way out. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. Check out our channel sponsors, yourfutcard.com. Is there anything else? I don't think there is. Tomorrow, Champions League draw. I will be doing a live stream for the Champions League draw. Me and young Omar. Omar to get excited, me to smash him and calm him down. This is going to be epic. Make sure you check it out. This is going to be brilliant. Over and out. Love you loads. Take care.